Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to INSS, to our symposium, afternoon symposium on the Iran deal 1 year on. Our symposium this year is co-hosted by INSS and the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation, our partner in this endeavor, and sponsored also by the Bundeswehr University in Munich. The nuclear deal, or the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was announced last July after years of on-again, off-again negotiations that actually began with the efforts of the EU3 back in 2003, and it culminated in an intense 18-month negotiation that produced this deal. When we look back over the past year, we will be probing in the panels and in the keynote addresses the nuclear, economic, and regional implications of the deal. What are the challenges of implementing this deal? Have expectations been realized, and by whom? Who is gaining and who is losing from this deal? How has Iran been acting to the reacting to the JCPOA towards the United States and towards the region? And what are the prospects for the coming years? So we have a full and rich agenda. I want to introduce the next two speakers, Ambassador Dr. Clemens von Goetze, who will be delivering greetings, and after that, Mr. Gidon Frank, who will be delivering our keynote address this afternoon. Ambassador von Goetze actually took up his post as Germany's ambassador to Israel last July, I believe. So it was just about the time that the Iran deal was announced. He has an MA in history and a doctorate in law from the University of Erlangen. From 2006 to 2009, he served as ambassador to the permanent representation to the EU and was part of the European Union's Political and Security Committee during that time. From 2009 to 2012, he served as Ambassador Director General to the Office of the Federal President. And from 2012 to 2015, Ambassador von Goetze was the Ambassador Director General for Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Near and Middle East. And I will just introduce also Mr. Frank, who will directly follow the ambassador. A former Director General of the Israel Atomic Energy Commission, Gidon Frank has been involved for decades with research and development for both the government and private sector, as well as with international nuclear policy and non-proliferation issues. After joining the Israel Atomic Energy Commission, Frank served in various posts, which included Director of the Research Reactor in the Sorek Nuclear Research Center, as a Safeguards Inspector at the IAEA in Vienna from 73 to 75, as General Manager of the Sorek Center, and from 1993 until 2007, he was the Director General of the Israel Atomic Energy Commission. He headed numerous delegations representing Israel at international meetings and participated in various expert forums. Currently, Mr. Frank serves as the chair of the Supervisory Council of the Technion, and he also teaches at Tel Aviv University and at IDC in Herzliya. So, Ambassador, please.
Yeah, Mrs. Landau, thank you very much. Mr. Yadlin, Mr. Borchardt. Greetings is a difficult word when you have to speak about Iran, and even if it's only 10 minutes. So let me put it in the way that I will deliver some ideas from the German perspective on the JCPOA and how we see this endeavor. First of all, I would say, if you look at the JCPOA, you have to imagine what did we try to achieve and what did we not try to achieve. I think that's a very important distinction I would like to make in the beginning. We tried to achieve a situation where Iran is preventing from going forward on a nuclear path with the possibility of acquiring nuclear weapons. we did not try to influence with the JCPOA the regional policies of Iran, and we did not try to change the character of the regime in Iran. We remain very well aware of the internal situation in Iran, of the very difficult human rights situation in the country, and we remain absolutely aware of the regional role that Iran continues to play. Since we have so many experts here, and Mr. Frank will elaborate on the details of the agreement, I will not go into that point by point, but I will summarize it in a way that I say the goal that we set ourselves, preventing Iran from following the nuclear path, that has been achieved by the JCPOA. We have achieved a tremendous reduction of the enriched material. We have achieved a tremendous reduction of the centrifuges, and we have achieved a transparency regime that allows us to control whether Iran is implementing the deal properly. I know there are questions in detail whether IAEA is able to really verify everything in the necessary detail, but we are convinced that the transparency rules we found are appropriate to control whether Iran is sticking to the deal, yes or no. All over the discussions on the JCPOA, we have been in close contact with the country that feels, for very good reasons, threatened by Iran, and this is this country, this is Israel. We have always had close contacts with our Israeli counterparts, discussing the questions and informing our Israeli friends about our view on things and how, in our view, the negotiations went. So we were always very well aware of Israeli positions in that regard. And we feel very strongly committed to the security of Israel, and we will feel very strongly committed to making it clear to the Iranians that we are not accepting their threats to the very existence to Israel as such, and that we are not willing to accept Holocaust caricature events that they are organizing in Tehran, and that we understand very well that Israel takes threats serious that are directed against it by very important members of the Iranian leadership. And we have also made it clear politically when we have high-level talks with Iranian politicians that there will be no complete normalization of relations between Iran and Germany as long as Iran does not clearly commit to the existence of Israel. What have we achieved after 1 year? I think in general we see that the implementation is proceeding, that we have been going forward as we arranged it 1 year ago, but we also see, and that's why I stressed it so much at the beginning, that things have to be seen separately, that this has not necessarily had an effect on Iranian regional policies, but as I said, this was not what we could enclose into the deal. So we keep these trends separate, and whether Iranian policy will change, whether the character of the internal repression will change, whether the intensified economic contacts will in the long term lead to a certain change in the country, all that remains to be seen. And this is not yet decided at all, and we are very much and closely monitoring what Iran is doing in the region. So with that, I think I would leave it with that as a first introduction, and then leave all the rest to the much more intensively knowledgeable experts as Mr. Frank. Thank you very much.